Esteemed delegates, dear colleagues, this intervention is on behalf of Harm Reduction International and a wider group of harm reduction organizations from all over the world. In September last year, world leaders gathered here to adopt the Sustainable Development Goals with the agenda of leaving no one behind. SDGs include a bold target to end AIDS by 2030. People who inject drugs are among those who have been left furthest behind by the global response to HIV. Currently, HIV response among people who inject drugs is 24 times higher than among the rest of adult population. Estimates suggest that at least 12.7 million people inject drugs worldwide, and at least 1.7 million of them are living with HIV. 86% of people that are living with HIV were not on antiretroviral therapy in 2014. We know that HIV epidemic among people who inject drugs is driven by stigma, discrimination, criminalization, and violence. It is also being driven by a lack of political will to implement harm reduction interventions that are proven to save countless lives where scaled up. The lack of political willingness for harm reduction is not limited to developing countries and can be observed all over the world. It is not surprising in the situation that the world has missed previous political declaration target of halving HIV among people who inject drugs by 2015. The target was missed by staggering 80%. And behind this failure is the chronic underfunding of harm reduction. At the last count, investment in harm reduction in low and middle income countries totaled $160 million, only 7% of what is needed. By contrast, $100 billion is spent annually on drug enforcement and control. Harm Reduction's international recent study shows that HIV-related death and new HIV infections can be cut by over 90% by 2030 if just 7.5% of the global funding for drug enforcement was redirected to scaled up harm reduction. This means that we can virtually end AIDS among people who inject drugs by 2030 by simply redirecting money from the war on drugs to harm reduction. That's why we are calling on all governments to adopt and implement evidence-informed and rights-based responses and approaches to HIV epidemic among people who use drugs. Thank you.